Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning. Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Isani Kayatami.
And thank you for joining us this morning. It is a moist Monday morning.
Moist Monday morning. Kids go back to school virtually today.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about the weather.
Let's check in on the weather first. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today, Michelle?
I am fine, and you?
Not too bad. It seems damp outside, but there's no downpour at this time. What is it going to be like for today?
All right, for today we can expect skies to remain cloudy, mostly cloudy that is, and a few showers, period of rain similar to what we had overnight, and even possible isolated of the sun in both areas, but especially north and along the coast.
Oh, all right. And over the weekend, we saw cloudy skies in Belize City, but there was rain in other parts of the country, right?
Yes, there was. Yeah, Belize City didn't get much rain, but up north and south, they get some rain over the weekend. We had mostly cool, cloudy weather.
Okay. And back to today, what kind of winds are we going to be expecting?
Okay, we can expect winds from the north to northeast at 5 to 15 knots.
Or temperatures?
Temperatures will remain mild, so similar to yesterday. Along the coast, we can expect only 82 Fahrenheit. Similar temperatures can be expected inland and up in the hills, about 72 Fahrenheit.
And for tonight?
Tonight, along the coast, we can expect about 73 Fahrenheit. Inland, 68 Fahrenheit, and up in the hills, 64 Fahrenheit.
And just to be clear, the cold front is gone, right?
Yes, the cold front is gone, but the cold front is affecting us.
Okay. It's sitting south of us?
The cold front, yes, it's to the southeast actually. It's all the way near Hispaniola at the moment. So it has dissipated, and what happened is some of the moisture, when it dissipated yesterday, pushed back over the country.
All right. And so what does this mean for the weather for the next few days?
All right, so for the next few days, we can expect pretty much similar weather conditions. Tonight, we see showers, isolated thunderstorms, and periods of rain continuing to affect the country. Tomorrow, we see even more of an increase in showers, especially along the coast, and that should last through to tomorrow night. Wednesday, we see a slight decrease, but showers and rain will still linger around on Wednesday. And then finally, Thursday, we see a decrease by Thursday afternoon. Thursday morning, still a few showers affecting coastal areas.
All right, so we got a mostly rainy week ahead.
Yeah, at least through to midweek, I would say. Yeah, for the most part of the week, yeah, it should be a bit wet.
Okay, Michelle. Well, thank you very much for that update.
You're welcome.
You have a great day today.
Thanks, and same to you.
All the way through to midweek.
And it's a short week. Remember, we are having the first commemoration of George Price Day.
On Friday. Something to look forward to as something new, right? A holiday in January, first of all. And secondly, we're celebrating the father of the nation. Yeah.
So that was actually introduced in the House on Friday. So we heard some of the commentary from the opposition side, what they thought about it. I know the public has been speculating quite a bit about the change in the holidays. We lost what is Pan American Day.
In October.
Yeah.
We have one in August now, right? Like
yes,
at the end of August.
Freedom Day, which is actually celebrated in the Caribbean as Emancipation Day. So, but we got to keep things moving this morning, and we're going to get into our eye opener. And our eye opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. Going with the flow doesn't mean we don't know where we're going. Rather, we are open to other ways of getting there. The expression going with the flow is a metaphor that applies to navigating a river. When we go with the flow, we allow the current of the river rather than push. We follow the current of the river rather than push against it. People who go with the flow may be interpreted as lazy or passive, but to truly go with the flow requires awareness, presence, and the ability to blend one's own energy with the prevailing energy. Going with the flow doesn't mean we toss our oars into the water and kick back in the boat, hoping for the best. Going with the flow means we let go of our individual agenda and notice the play of energy all around us. We tap into that energy and flow with it, which gets us going where we need to go a whole lot faster than resistance will. Many of us are afraid of going with the flow because we don't trust that we will get where we want to go if we do. This causes us to cling to plans that aren't working, stick to routines that are obstructed, and obsess over relationships that aren't fulfilling. Trust that the big river of your life has a plan for you and let it carry you onward. Take a deep breath and move into the current.
First of all, I'd like to say that there's a negative connotation that we have affixed to the term going with the flow. To say that when someone says, okay, I'm just going with the flow, it's like they are surrendering or they have completely submitted to whatever it is that they can't change or can't go around. And so that's the connotation that most people have when you say, I'm going with the flow. But like the eye opener rightly said, going with the flow requires a sense of presence of mind, which is the awareness of not necessarily knowing where you're going, but easing your way into a situation where at the first opportunity that you would have to gather your bearing and choose a direction, then that is the course of action you take. I think, and that is like figuratively speaking, right? When you're faced with certain challenges in the real world, not all of them you're able to meet head on and expect to have the same outcome that you would want as a desired effect, so to speak. Some, you simply just have to let go for a while, see where it's going more or less, and as I mentioned, you gather your bearing and you figure out, okay, well, this is the energy in the room, or this is the general direction or the vibe from the people around me. Okay, now that I understand that, this is what I'm going to do. And then you choose your action from there. I think that's what I gather from the eye opener.
Yeah, I love it. I think it brings a brand new perspective to what letting go and going with the flow means.
Yeah.
And it's so on point when it talks about, a current will flow in a particular direction. It takes me back to the advice that you get when you are caught in a current and you're drowning. One of the first things emergency personnel will tell you is kind of just let go, float, and go with the current. It will, if it's the sea, you will eventually come back to shore, and if it's the river, it's going to take you downstream, and you'll be able to find something along the way. But fighting it is really what causes all the exertion and exhaustion and can lead to drowning. So I can't help but thinking about that, and we feel that way sometimes, right? We feel like you're going, treading water in one place, fighting to stay afloat, when you realize that you are just fighting against that current. And sometimes it's a direction that you have no control over being able to change, and it would be so much easier for you, and you can be so much more productive if you just go with it.
Well, the thing is, the biggest challenges are faced when you attempt to swim upstream, right? And only salmons I know swim upstream and trout, right? But I'm saying, like, when you are prepared mentally to simply accept certain things, and you are willing to kind of go along with that flow of tide, it makes life a little easier, as opposed to trying to climb uphill or trying to go against that natural flow. Not all of us are designed to face those kinds of challenges head on, right? And some would say it's probably easier to go along with it than to completely fight against it.
Yeah. You know, and not this, I mean, I think we must acknowledge that there are some fights that are worth it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure not all. You know, I can't, putting it into perspective as well, this is kind of how we felt in the beginning with all the changes for COVID. It's like, no, this is not my normal, you know, it feels uncomfortable, I don't want to do it. And then, you know, once you ease into it, once you realize that this is just what has to be done, it becomes a lot more comfortable to kind of just go with it.
Well, and that's what I was mentioning earlier. There's a certain point where you simply surrender to it, right? And I'm glad you raised that part about COVID as a short talking point here. It's like so many things have happened over the past several months that one would say, yo, my life is topsy-turvy right now. Like, you know, there's a curfew, there's social distance, I can't go and visit my relatives, and all of these other stuff that's happening. And in the beginning, you would say, well, this is not life as I know it, because I'm traditionally used to doing certain things, right? And then you realize, well, I'm not the only one that's facing it. Like if I look in another country, they're doing the same thing. You know, if I talk to someone else on the other side of the world, they're experiencing a lockdown too. So it's like, it's just the way of the world, and you simply have to give in to what it is at the moment.
So I hope that the eye-opener helps you to make those adjustments today. You know, look at our children starting school today. You know, I talked to a couple parents, and because they've been doing distance learning, it's like, okay, well, school starts tomorrow. They're going to get back into their routine with online classes. Does mean you have to wake them up, so it's probably time to get that started.
Nudge them out of bed.
Yeah, but at least you don't have to worry about the getting them dressed hassle. But these are the times that we're in, and we can talk a bit about that a bit later too.
Yeah, certainly.
All right, so let's get moving into the Eye on the News.
So I want to begin this morning by extending condolences to the medical community once again. Over the weekend, we reported of a doctor passing away from complications related to COVID-19, Dr. Baldomino Barbosa. And he was one of those frontline workers in the north that was dealing with patients who are themselves afflicted with COVID-19, and presumably that is how he contracted the virus. And despite attempts being made to help him to get over, he succumbed to the illness over the weekend. So the Belize Medical and Dental Association has issued a release in respect of his passing, and so has the Ministry of Health. They too issued a release over the weekend acknowledging the passing of this well-known frontline worker. And it only brings back into full circle the idea that we're still faced with a pandemic, and the fact that there are persons who risk their lives, continue to risk their lives on a daily basis to be able to provide the kind of medical care that others who are equally affected by the disease are dealing with. So that's the first point.
Yeah, definitely, and I think we've seen all of the outpouring of condolences, at least online, and you hear people talk of their personal experiences of working, of seeing him as a patient or having him as a physician, and clearly he had affected a number of lives in his medical career. It is one of the aspects of COVID that I think is tough to the amount of lives that we've lost and the amount of families that we've lost. It's so disheartening. If you think of over 200 families who are now without their loved ones. But I think the attention to frontline workers is one that does cause more of a stir, because we know that very often it is because it happened in the line of duty.
Certainly.
So in helping to battle the pandemic, they lost. So they lost their lives. So I think definitely we express our condolences to the family and to the wider medical community as well.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, this goes on the record as a third healthcare worker, or a doctor in this case, who has lost his life to COVID-19. A couple of weeks back, we had the twin brothers, the Guerra brothers, who passed away as well. And they too, one can say, contracted it in the line of duty. Right? So that's the first point that I wanted to touch on. Secondly, we are on the heels of the first sitting of the House of Representatives under the Brisenia administration. And Friday was quite a marathon in terms of the length of the session itself and the many topics that were discussed during the course of the meeting. And so it takes a while to unpack all of what was discussed. You had the COVID situation, you had the land situation, the Ministry of Work situation. All of these things are coming out. And as an observation, without necessarily going into the specifics of all of what I just mentioned, but as an observation, to see the dynamic in the House of Representatives on Friday and the way it was managed by the Speaker of the House was also an interesting one, right? You have Valerie Woods, who's the House Speaker, and I think she comported herself fairly well for the first sitting of the House of Representatives, and expecting that there would have been some fireworks, so to speak, and being able to provide that balance and being able to maintain control of the overall vibe and atmosphere of the House, I think is something commendable. Now, to go to the actual points that were raised, I think one of the things that to me stood out was when the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Natural Resources gave his presentation to discuss the land situation and the fact that over the course of the past administration, if the former Prime Minister had flagged the Lands Department as a hotbed of corruption, well, details of what transpired during that term of office are now coming to light. And the hustle is the hustle, Marlene, to say it that way. People go in there, people have an agenda to benefit from acquiring land and dumping them at cost and pocketing those monies. And so it's a continual thing where he mentioned several persons who are involved in it. I'm not going to go through the names again, but you know, for one that was paying close attention to what was being said, it details the breadth of the corruption that was taking place. And now that we're able to see that and learn for ourselves what was taking place, I'm sincerely hoping that the corrective measures would be put there now to kind of stem that behavior from continuing.
You know, we're 2 months since the election, and I think that one of the things that was expected was that there was going to be kind of an unearthing of all the misdeeds of the previous administration. There were many allegations made during that time. What can be done now is that we can hear directly from those who are in the ministries doing the investigations and seeing whatever, you know, questionable actions and decisions were made. But what was interesting, you know, you could hear an audible gasp in the House at some of the revelations, especially where it came to land deals. And I think people are rightly infuriated at what they're hearing. But I think what is key is exactly what you're saying. What is the next step? The House meeting was a marathon session. And in fact, I fear that quite a lot of what needed to get done got lost. So you had perhaps the first part of the morning. It was until after 2 that they started introducing the bills, and the entire morning was kind of dedicated to each minister unveiling what they have uncovered so far. And the people have a right to know. But the substantive matter are the bills that have been introduced, and you know, I don't think anybody paid keen attention to that because you're so caught up in all that information there. But we do have time to unpack it. The land scandal is to the top of that list. And there's also, of course, the misuse of resources and the repossession that we saw on Friday was only just one of them.
It's only just one, you're right. And earlier in the week, the Minister of Infrastructure and Development held a press brief where details of what transpired under the former Minister of Works at the time was involved with. And so while the former minister has sought to distance himself from the allegations being made, there is still this ongoing investigation to determine exactly what was the scope or the breadth of what took place. You have allegations of resources being used to build private roads. You have allegations of property that were supposed to be donated or contributed to a particular cause. The gate ended up somewhere else. All of these things are being uncovered, right? And some people would say, well, should not the present administration be focused more on moving ahead instead of digging up the past? Well, that's a train of thought that some people will hold on to and say, well, we are progressive in our way of thinking. But at the same time, if we have been clamoring to learn or to understand fully what has been happening all along, then as you rightly said, we have a need to and a right to know, right? Even if it means now putting the corrective measures in place so as not to repeat some of those, I would call them travesties, because when you look at what happened, it's alarming to say the least, right?
And what repercussions will come from them? You're looking at two things. You know, what can be in the case of equipment repossessed? What can be done to rectify these actions that have been taken, and then also what policies need to be put in place, what oversight need to be put in place to ensure that it doesn't happen again. You know, it's been a very long time since this country has seen a change in administration. 13 years. And so it's not necessarily fresh on our minds that this happens when there's a change in administration. But the point is, when are we going to have a change in administration? We don't spend months just unveiling the mass corruption that takes place. And that is the platform that this party campaigned on to be able to now form the administration. So yes, let's see how bad the problem was, but let's not forget that a big part of the responsibility that the people put on their shoulder was to be able to rectify it. So, yet to be seen.
So,
well, there is the Good Governance Bill, which does have some, you know, one of the interesting points was the Public Accounts Committee meeting, which is a part of that Good Governance Bill.
Well, I was about to say, to kind of piggyback from what you're saying, it's interesting how the House was able to respond to or address the passage, or the introduction, should I say, of the Good Governance Bill, and the fact that while you have the present administration pledging to adhere to certain rules, for want of a better word, right, you have the opposition who kind of dealt with it from a more cynical perspective, right, to say, well, okay, practice what you preach so that you don't come off down the road as being hypocritical, right? But that's one that remains to be seen, because sometimes we make lofty promises and stuff, and then we get lost along the way and we don't see it all the way through to the end. But like I said, it's a new day, it's a new direction being taken, and it is only fair that the chance is given, or the opportunity is being afforded for, you know, the administration to carry out what it says it will do under its mandate. All right, so we could sit here and talk about Friday all day, but
well, we're going to have more of it in our newscast tonight, of course. And
definitely,
as you noted earlier, the COVID situation is still one that we're paying attention to, and this week is particularly one that we need to pay close attention to. It would be what would be the second week after the last long weekend. So we'll see if there's been any impact.
Well, the numbers are released on a daily basis, and I made a very small observation, as I was mentioning earlier. We're at 637 active cases, whereas before we had dipped to somewhere in the 500s. So there seems to have been some increase in those numbers, and whether it coincides with the 6 to 7 day window, as we were mentioning, is one that is yet to be seen, or if the numbers will continue to go up based on the last holiday weekend that was spent. So it's an observation nonetheless. Those pieces of information we do carry so that people are aware of where we are in terms of the numbers of deaths, new infections, and active cases. Right? So again, so details of these stories and others will come up certainly at 6 o'clock in our live newscast.
All right, and it's time for us to get moving into our show for today. And speaking of the situation of COVID, today we have a COVID-19 survivor story. This is the first time we'll be able to talk to a patient who was intubated while being hospitalized, came off the machine and was able to go home. Of course, we carried that in the news. That is Ingrid Vega. And today she's going to be sharing her story along with us, along with her doctors, so that we can all understand how this disease affected her.
The second part of our conversation this morning has to do with the claims that are being made through the Social Security Board for persons who were affected or are affected by COVID-19. So we'll have that conversation following our second break.
And to close out for today, the new Miss Universe Belize was crowned over the weekend. And she hails from San Pedro, and we have that first interview with her in the latter part of our show. So we're going to take that break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about surviving COVID-19. So please stay tuned.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when you sign up for Smart's Plus plan, you get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data. And it's a fact that you can sign up with your group of up to 5 members for Smart's Share plans and up to 40 members for Smart's Enterprise plans for unlimited talk, text, and data. Smart has the true unlimited plans. That's a fact. Be smart and live smart.
Everyone is at risk of catching COVID-19, so it's important to quickly recognize signs and symptoms of the infection. The most common symptoms are fever, dry cough, and tiredness or fatigue. Some people may also have sore throat, aches and pains, stuffy nose, or diarrhea. But a few people have also reported pink eye or conjunctivitis, headache, loss of taste or smell, a rash on skin, or change in the color of fingers or toes. Emergency warning signs that require immediate medical attention are extreme difficulty breathing, severe constant pain or pressure in the chest, becoming confused, unable to talk or move, bluish lips, face, fingers, or toes. For more information, call 0800 MOH-CARE. Help keep Belize safe.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And welcome back. We are going to get into a very detailed conversation this morning, as it is the first time we're going to be speaking with someone who has survived COVID-19 but has also lost a dear one in the process as well. That being said, I want to introduce this morning Ingrid Vega. She's a recovered patient of COVID-19. She's also the widow of the late David Dido Guerra, who was the area representative in Corozal North. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, guys. Thank you for having me here today.
All right.
Hi, doctors. You look amazing.
Good morning, Ingrid.
All right. So we also have joining Ingrid is Dr. Shauna Pot. She's the general practitioner at the Belize Healthcare Partners Limited. And she's also joined by Dr. Tanya Morejon, who's also a general practitioner at BHPL. Good morning, ladies.
Hi, good morning.
Let's begin, Ingrid, by talking a bit about your experience with COVID-19. And I know that it will be an emotionally intense conversation to have with you, but we are prepared to give you the floor for you to share with us and, of course, the rest of the country your personal experiences with COVID-19 and the loss of a loved one.
That was actually...
Yeah, it has been a rough time lately, but thank God I am here today. I mean, he's amazing. He has been with me through all these days. He never leaves us, you know, he's right there with us all the time. So it is, yes, a little bit emotional, but somehow I pray every day for strength, and he's giving me that strength every day to keep on going, you know. When I started with the symptoms, I immediately seek medical attention and everything was fine, you know. I remember going to Dr. Shauna, to Belize Healthcare Partners, and she checked me. We did blood tests. We all checked our x-rays for me and my daughters. And all we found out was that I was dehydrated, right, doctor? And I went back home and I with some meds, and all of a sudden, like overnight, this virus just took over my lungs. You know, it was a quick thing, you know.
Yeah.
Somehow my sister has been my little angel too, and she moved so quickly and made me do another test the following day. Yeah. So I think that helped me a lot. Yeah. And that's when we found out that the virus was taking over, you know. And immediately, they called Dr. Hidalgo at the Belize Healthcare Partners, and I was transferred immediately from here, from Corozal Hospital. And that was my first experience with I was transferred, and I was there, I believed, on the 10th of December. And the following day, that was when my husband passed away on the 11th. And I believed, if I am not, correct me if I'm wrong, doctors, because I am, there's so many things I don't know. You know, I'll fill in the blanks. It's because of my doctors or my sister telling me what happened, no? And I think it was the same day that my husband passed away that I was told that I was going to have to be intubated. Was that right?
The following day.
The following day.
Yeah.
It was the 12th of December. I remember because it was my birthday.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there. And Ingrid became really distressed. Of course, we took it in strides with her when she first came. She was placed on a nasal cannula, receiving oxygen, and then we had to switch to high flow. And eventually she became too distressed. And so I was in there working alongside Ms. Rocio Hiron, who is our respiratory therapist. And under guidance from Dr. Hidalgo, we decided that Ingrid needed to be intubated. And I have to say that one of the reasons that I admire Ingrid a lot is because she had remained calm throughout the ordeal. Since the very beginning, she, of course, suffered a great loss while being in there, and she was fighting to stay alive, to recover, and she just knew that she had to get home to her girls, like she would always say. And she just remained calm. I remember we called Daisy, and Daisy spoke to her, gave her words of encouragement for her to accept and go ahead with the intubation.
So why was that decision taken? Was it because she would not have survived had she not moved on to mechanical ventilation?
Yes, actually, if she remained only in oxygen via high flow or nasal cannula, she wouldn't make it without the intubation. She make it because we did the decision, no, we make the decision on time to do the intubation and mechanical ventilation for her. Otherwise, she couldn't survive.
She was already very tired. She was very distressed. Her body needed to rest. And so, of course, then we had to intubate at that point.
One of the clear things that I hear from both Ingrid and you guys as physicians is how important timing is. Ingrid, you spoke of your sister, helping you make that rapid decision from one day being clear with your x-rays to the next day saying, no, we have to go back and check. Let's talk about those kind of decisions, because we know when you wait too long to go to the hospital, your prognosis or your potential for recovery lessens.
No, of course. I think it's very important for me to stress
What did you feel?
Actually, at the beginning, I was feeling okay, until I started feeling, I had chills. I started getting chills. And then eventually I started feeling dizzy until one day I actually fainted in front of my girls, and that got them so, they were frightened, in front of my dad and my girls, because my dad was helping me taking care of my girls. And that was when, I said, well, I need to go see someone else. And it was through my sister that got me Dr. Hidalgo and Dr. Pat and Dr. Tanya to help me, And so I do want to stress that it is very important for us that as soon as we get symptoms to seek medical help, because we don't know what will happen. I was feeling okay, not perfect, but I got up, I was around, praying and dealing with my husband being at the hospital. I still had that strength every morning, every day, until just one day it happened. So I think it is very important to move quickly, seek medical attention immediately, because we tend to wait last minute, and that's when it's a little bit late. And for me, it was so timely, and that's because I did seek medical help, So you never know.
And describe to me the symptoms that day you were hospitalized. Sorry.
The symptoms? I actually, when I went in, I wasn't feeling too bad. I was okay. It's just the X-ray telling me that I am not okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question here, Ingrid, and this is a rather tough one, but I'm seeing what I would describe perhaps as a whirlwind of activities happening. This is immediately on the heels of the elections. You guys are getting ready as a family to see your husband take office in the house and all of these things, and then you're smacked with sickness. Describe what happened there.
What can I say? I ask myself the same thing, you know. I ask myself what happened. You know, sometimes I question why. I don't question God. You know, somehow I've built so much faith, you know, that I don't have the opportunity to question God of why he took away my husband. You know, I believe he has a plan for everyone. And my plan was to come back. I remember though, asking him before I went intubated, I remember asking him to please give me another chance to come back to my girls, you know. But I wasn't scared after I spoke to my sister, you know. I wasn't scared. And I prayed, you know, and I think that helped me a lot, not being afraid. Yeah. And we just have to keep on thanking God. I do believe in miracles, you know. I do believe that I am a miracle, and I am a strong believer now, you know. It's because of him I'm here today. Mm-hmm. So going back to the elections, to what happened, it was a big hit. I mean, I wasn't even present at my husband's funeral, you know. Mm-hmm. My daughter would be the one telling me, you know, what happened at the funeral. And as is, I'm not even in Facebook. I don't even go in Facebook right now because I'm not ready. I am not ready to see the funeral, to see the post of him. Mm-hmm. Because I am still dedicated on recovering. Yeah. I know that grieving would delay my recovery. Mm-hmm. I remember going to see my husband and telling him, you know, that I can't grieve him right now because I need to get back to my girls. I shed a couple tears, but I went back in and ready, you know. So I told him that I can't grieve him. So I haven't grieved him yet. Mm-hmm. Because I'm still in recovery. It's going to be a while. Because it's a day to day. Slowly, we're getting there. And I have to thank these amazing doctors too. I want to take the opportunity to thank all frontline workers. We tend to take them for granted sometimes. And this team has been so amazing, you know. You know what's so amazing? That even them have this strong faith, you know. Mm-hmm. They prayed for me every day. And I have to thank them for that, you know. Yeah. All the medical team at the Belize Healthcare Partners, my nurses. I mean, I'm talking from the youngest nurse to the oldest doctor. These guys love their jobs. They come every morning with a smile in their face, knowing that they're dealing with COVID patients, you know. Yeah. I mean, in 2 weeks that I was there, they made me fall in love with them. I love them.
You know, we love you too.
We love you.
Well, I do have to tell you that when we were talking to the doctors before we got this interview scheduled, they did say one thing about you consistently, that you were a fighter and you had decided very early on that you were going to go home to your girls. Let's talk about this moment here. This was Christmas Eve. This was, I think, all of Belize shed a tear seeing this video of you going home on Christmas Eve. Just tell me that feeling. What was it like?
It was a bittersweet moment, but I was happy. I was happy that I was coming home to my girls for Christmas, you know. But getting home and having someone missing, you know. So it was a bittersweet moment, but yes, I was happy. And everyone was telling me about the kisses that I was giving, but it was to my doctors and nurses, telling them thank you and goodbye,
Yeah.
because I couldn't hug them, I couldn't kiss them. So I was giving, what do you call that?
Virtual hugs.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, of course, I was happy. My girls were waiting for me. So my family, Christmas was, I have an 8-year-old and an 18-year-old. So my 8-year-old is still into Santa Claus and opening gifts. And I still did that for them, I made sure they still got a Christmas. I mean, we pulled it through, And every day we just pray and continue praying for strength,
Let me turn my question now to Dr. Pot. And of course, Dr. Morejon. In having dealt with this particular case and to see how the patient went through the entire cycle, so to speak, and is still going through recovery, what has been perhaps one of the takeaways for you guys, either from a medical point of view or from a personal, a human point of view, to see someone going through this entire ordeal?
Well, Ingrid, I consider Ingrid a victory. The team worked, we're an entire team. And I like to stress on that. It's not just about doctors and nurses. We have our respiratory therapist, Ms. Rocio. We have
Consultant
just
doctor.
everybody that goes in there. And we all work together and give each other strength through everything that is done. COVID is very dynamic and unpredictable, which is something that we have to stress, because as Ingrid mentioned, I did evaluate her just one day before she became too ill and had to be hospitalized and eventually intubated. And when I saw her hemodynamically, she was fine, and she left there smiling, and she went home and everything was well. And it was Dr. Marhon who was on shift when she had to come back and be hospitalized, and I was a bit, but this has been the case in several other cases that I've seen as well. That I recently had a patient ask me, actually, he said, Doctora, but just one day before I was hospitalized, they told me that my x-ray was okay, and then I had to come and be admitted. And so, yes, COVID is very dynamic, very unpredictable. As in Ingrid's case, we took a multifaceted approach, as in everybody presents differently. And so, to say what we took away from that is that, for me personally, I believe that I look at Ingrid and I think that Ingrid had a fighting attitude from the beginning, and we did what we could have done, as we do with each and every one of our patients. And she's our success story.
I remember I was on call that night when Ingrid came to our facility. It was in the morning because it was 1:45 a.m. And she was in respiratory distress already, but not as bad as I thought she was going to get intubated. I left my shift with Ingrid in high flow, and the next day, Dr. Pot told me Ingrid get intubated. This is how COVID works. It's very dynamic, very unpredictable. One day the patients are apparently okay, and the next day we have complications already. One thing I remember, Ingrid asked me that night, because already Mr. Vega, her husband, was in multi-organ failure. Already he was bad. And one thing she asked me, Doctora, you think I will survive? You think I will go home with my girls? So I told her, Ingrid, I promise we will do all we can do in our hands. And like we do with all our patients. We are a team in there, like Doctora say. It's not only doctors. We have doctors, nurses, even the cleaners. Every day come to work with a nice smile
Yeah.
and very good attitude to our patients. We even, when Ingrid was intubated and in waning off, that means that we were awakening. No, she was without sedation. We still with the tube. Some nurses and me, we put a video with music. We dance for her. We sing for her. So that was, she was always with that attitude, like a hero attitude, a real hero. She always fight it. And I remember before she get intubated, I have to, I had that part, it touched my heart a lot because I have to carry her to Mr. Vega room when he passed away. And she was there, she had some tears, but she told me, Doctora, I have to look for myself and I need to live for my girls. So I carry her to her room again. And I remember one thing that I don't think I tell anybody yet, or I told Ingrid. I squeezed Mr. Vega's hand. He died, he passed away already. And I told him, I promise I will look for Ingrid. And we will try our best. There Ingrid is today. Fortunately for all of us and for her family.
Yes.
Now,
Thank you.
it's not missed on anybody how unique your story is, Ingrid, for many reasons. One, it highlights just how COVID can be indiscriminate. Very often we think it's much older people, very, very big people. You have other conditions. You don't fit that description. It's also a situation where some people don't recover, as the case with your husband. And more so when it gets as severe as requiring mechanical ventilation, it is usually a very hard fight back that many don't make it through. So your story encapsulates so many of the challenges that come with being able to battle this disease. When you think of, your process, being hospitalized just the right time, being intubated, coming out of intubation, and then finally being released. What are the moments that stand out that you say? Because I know you're a woman of faith, that you said that thank you to God to say, thank you for the miracle that I asked for.
I keep on thanking God every day. And I want to tell everyone, if He has a purpose for me here, and if it's changing one life, then that's my purpose. Or if it's changing 2 or 3, I don't know, but I think that sooner or later, I'm gonna find out why He has me here. So yes, I'm gonna be a change woman. I am a change woman. My family has been so believers as well, and I want to take this opportunity to thank Belize. It's overwhelming. It was so overwhelming of all the prayers that my husband, my girls, we all got these prayers, messages. So I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone that lit a candle, prayed for me, and had me in their prayers every day. Thanking my medical team, they're amazing. And of course, I have to keep on thanking God every day, because it was not easy. It has not been easy, but I keep on fighting, and just don't be scared, guys. That's my thing that I think that helped me a lot, not being scared. So when you get to the hospital, just keep on praying and don't be scared. That helped me, you know.
Now let's talk about what recovery is like after the extent of the severe COVID that Ingrid had. Dr. Pot, Dr. Morejon, I can see that you're still on oxygen therapy. And so tell us a bit about how you feel, and then the doctors can tell us about what happens after someone is released.
You know, the recovery has been every day. I seem to be improving little by little. I am on oxygen right now because I didn't want to take the chance, you know, of having to be worrying of checking my oxygen level. And I know I was going to be on an interview today. And whenever I talk a lot or whenever I move a lot, I still get tired. I get tired. But I have been working with Dr. Rocio with my therapy. She gives me therapy, and I need to do my therapy every day. I am walking. I am doing stuff on my own. I mean, I remember the first day I couldn't even brush my teeth or comb my hair or eat. You know, I had to depend on people doing all that for me. And today I can say that I am doing all of that by myself. And I still need to be on the oxygen, yes, minimal. But I do get tired, and hopefully I am praying every day to get off of it. But I think it's gonna be a while. But like I said, I keep on fighting every day because I know that I need to get out the oxygen, you know. And I would be off oxygen, I would say maybe an average of 7 hours a day. I would be off the oxygen. When I'm at rest, I am okay. When I move a lot, then it tends to come down a little. When I go sleep, I put it on. Or when I do my therapy, I need my Dr. Rocio always telling me to make sure I put it on because I do get tired. Therapy takes a lot. So I think I am doing good. What do you say, Doc?
You're doing great.
You're doing good, and you're looking good.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
Of course, there is a post-COVID
Syndrome.
post-COVID complication in patients with depend of the severity of the COVID. Like Ingrid, that was so severe, it will take longer time to recover. They have a period like 3-4 months with insomnia, fatigue, weakness. Like I said, depend of the severity. Some patients with less severe lesions, he only experience post-COVID insomnia and fatigue for a period of 3 to 4 months. We have the patients to be patient because with time they will get that fully recovery. And with Ingrid, we think that she's going very good. She's doing amazing because Ingrid is a very disciplined patient. She take all the advice and she do all her therapy, and she continue keep in touch with us almost daily. Even if it's just to say hello, hi, how are you? She's still in recovery process, but she's doing very well.
Yeah, and some patients do experience a long-lasting issue when it comes to having problems breathing on their own, as in the case with Ingrid, that she's still on the oxygen because the type of pneumonia that's associated with COVID-19 tends to leave some scarring in the alveoli, which are the air sacs. And so this, we've actually seen this in another patient that we had to admit again. Dr. Hidalgo ended up admitting the patient after recovering from COVID, but still having aftermath of the disease. Wow. And so it's a process, and post-COVID syndrome is
real.
It's real, and the post-COVID lung, you know, that takes a while to recover from it as well. But Ingrid is doing well, so. we're very proud of her.
And
And
let's be clear too that this team, Dr. Pot and Dr. Morejon, you're both at Healthcare Partners. Ingrid was at Belize Healthcare Partners COVID-19 unit. I know in previous conversations, Dr. Pot, you said it's been a constant flow at capacity or almost capacity. Is that still the case today?
we've still been very busy, but today we have less patients today.
Okay.
That's a good
Yeah.
thing.
That's a good sign too. Yeah.
Yes.
So Ingrid, as we round off this conversation, I know there are people you want to thank, but also talk to our viewers. And your story was the miracle that people wanted before Christmas, seeing you go home to your girls. But it is also a stark reminder that you can lose your loved ones and that this illness can take you from feeling a little bit bad at home to being on a mechanical ventilator in just a few days.
Yeah, well, what I can say is, guys, you know, you have your family. Don't wait for tomorrow. You know, tell them you love them, show them you love them, give them a hug, give them a kiss, because you never know what will happen tomorrow, you know? And that's the case with me. I mean, it was an overnight, like it just happened so quickly. You know, he was gone. I was able to, thanks to Dr. Tanya, I was able to see him and say my goodbyes. But it was like almost 2 weeks or 1 week that I couldn't tell him anything. I mean, I spoke to him via phone. I remember Dr. Shana putting me and my girls talking to him, but I don't know if he heard me. I mean, I can say in my point of view, when I was intubated, I couldn't hear anything. I don't recall hear anyone talking to me, you know, so I'm not sure if he heard me. Maybe he was a different case, you know, but in my case, I couldn't hear anyone while they spoke with me. So, guys, just don't wait for tomorrow. You know, tell your family, show them you love them. And yes, I do want to thank everyone, but I can't name them because there's so much of people that I want to thank. But everyone was just amazing. I mean, so it's not only me, you know, it's God, of course, my doctors, amazing team. And they're my next family. I always say I have my family, my siblings. I have my PUP family. And now I gained another group of family, you know. So I'm blessed, guys, you know.
You're really blessed.
Yeah. Well, we do wish you the best on your recovery. We want to thank you for sharing your story with us today, letting us know how you're feeling, and you know, to hear the backstory of how things progressed. Dr. Pot, Dr. Morejon, thank you for joining us as well, and to all of you. Well, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the loss within the medical community. Another doctor lost his life to COVID-19. He was at your facility, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was in our facility.
Yeah. And
he gets serious complications.
He arrived there already intubated?
Yes. He got intubated at KHMH, and so the same day that he got intubated, I went with the birth ambulance and we brought him over to our facility. So we did not, we weren't the ones to intubate him. However, I had seen him a few days before, evaluated him, and he was already not doing well when he left and went over to the KHMH.
Well, I am sorry, and as two frontline workers, I know you're always geared up and in that COVID unit. Dr. Pot, we talk about how you have to quarantine from your family and stay away from your children. Thank you for the work that you do, and please stay safe. And Ingrid, speedy recovery, and keep faith.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you,
Have a
ladies.
good day, guys.
You
Bye.
too.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
And that's it for our COVID-19 update for today. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking to representatives of the Social Security Board about making your claims online. So please stay tuned.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Caused intense flooding overnight in the western and southern parts of the country.
Yeah?
Do we need to renew the insurance policy?
The insurance policy?
Highway were impassable.
Oh, let me check.
Renew your policies, file a claim, and even send us a message using RFNG online.
Now we're good. It says we're covered.
Okay, great.
It pays to get it right with RFNG Insurance, a road group company.
If we are only as strong as our families, businesses, institutions, and the communities that surround us, then by giving businesses the power to grow, entrepreneurs the ability to expand, and by giving our families the right to own something, the Belize Bank gives you the power to build a nation, our nation. We are stronger together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
And we're back, and we are moving into our second conversation for today as we find out more about the online claims services of the Social Security Board. We have with us Chandra Cancino, who is the General Manager of Corporate Customer Relations Services at SSB. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Marlene. Good morning, Isani.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chandra.
So, Chandra, I know that there have been some changes, and there's a lot of questions that always come every time you guys shift things around. So we're taking the opportunity to provide some clarity to the public. Let's just start off by looking at how you have transitioned your services over the past 10 months.
Okay, well, we've, like most other service providers, are moving online or have moved online as much as we possibly can. And so that means that people now have the opportunity to make their claims fully online without having to come to the Social Security office. And so in keeping with our promise and our commitment to remain engaged with the public, we are here again to emphasize the opportunity to utilize the online services, and also to remind persons, I think, for those who listened to the New Year's message from Prime Minister Briceño, he made the announcement of the the contribution, remember in 2019, we started
Yes.
the process of the contribution, what we call the contribution reform.
Yeah.
And that is the increase in the Social Security contributions over a 3-step period. And so the first one was in July of 2019, and the second one was January of 2020. And then there was a third one scheduled for January of 2021, but that has now been postponed. And of course, the reasons for that are, you know, the economic situation of Belize at this time. The Prime Minister felt that it would be too onerous on employers and even employees. And so the third increase has now been postponed. And so we just want to remind persons, the employers and employees alike, because it would be this pay period, because the decision was very close to the implementation date. And so we just want to remind persons that if that new change will no longer take effect, and to, you know, ensure that the changes that you are seeing in the Social Security deductions will not change for 2021. So that's another area that we wanted to highlight today.
Yeah.
Sandra, talk to us about the process of the claims, because you have persons who come down with COVID-19 and have to miss work for that 14-day period, but do not necessarily know how to go about claiming through the SSB. Walk us through that process.
Okay, we have, and also there's a little ad/mini tutorial available on the website for persons who would like to take their time and review that as well. And so the first step would be, of course, to get a medical certificate from the physician or from your doctor. And then you would remember the sickness benefit claim has 3 parts: the part that the doctor fills out, the part that you, the claimant, fill out, and then the part that the employer fills out. So it starts with the doctor, the physician, and then you fill out your part, which is, you know, your name, your social security number, your banking information if we don't already have it, etc. And then the third part is for the employer, which is the salaries record. And that is where the employer simply verifies what your salary is. And then you submit the claim, take a picture of the claim or scan it and send it to us online by email to claims@socialsecurity.org.bz. Now, it's important that the claim is complete, especially because if your claim is submitted incomplete, we then have to start the process of contacting you, getting the additional information, and the service will be delayed. So a lot of the complaints are, well, I submitted my claim. Yes, you submitted the claim, but it wasn't complete. And so for you to receive your payment, the claim has to be complete. And so we're just urging persons who are using that service to please make sure that the claims are completed. That way, you will receive your benefit within a couple of days of submitting it. If it's not complete, then we need to get back in touch with you. You need to, and in a lot of cases, the salaries records are missing from the employer. So, you know, we start that process of trying to verify the salaries with the employer. But if you can provide all of that information to us before submitting the claim, then you are going to receive your payment much faster.
Yeah. Now, I'd imagine when you have 3 different people filling out a form that something gets lost along the way. What's the most common information that's usually missing?
Right now, the most common one right now is the employer's section, the employer's portion. So the person gets a medical certificate, they fill in their part, and then they submit the claim without the employer's portion, because that takes it. Remember, this process puts a little bit more of the responsibility on the claimant now, because now you have to then send the claim to the employer or have the employer fill it in for you, and then you bring it to us. And so that is the area that is most, in some cases, these persons aren't back at work.
Yeah.
They go to the doctor and then they go home. But again, it can be done, you know, the doctor can fill in we call it the SM2, which is the salaries record, and send it separately. Whatever needs to be done to get the information to us, will be accepted online as long as we can verify that it is correct.
Yeah.
And so that is the one that is most commonly missing. Then you also have in areas where persons are submitting their claims for the first time and we don't have your banking information, a lot of persons leave out the account information. And that's important because we pay by direct deposit. So you don't have to come into the office for a check. We don't use checks anymore. And so that's a second area that we find that has missing information a lot of the times. I think those are the two most common. And then, of course, you have the occasional dates might be wrong, but those are easier to fix and to address.
Yeah.
But the actual information that has to do with the processing of the claim is extremely important.
Yeah.
And so those are the two areas that we would remind people to focus on: the employer's salary information and your banking information, so that we can pay you directly to your account.
Sandra, do you guys have a tally of the number of claims that have been made since the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak in Belize?
Yes, Isani, I mean, no, you asked me that question. So I'll get the numbers. Okay, so we have the numbers for up to the 8th, I think it was the 8th of January. And so for the 8th of January, we've received 3,548 sickness claims for COVID-19. And we have paid out almost $1.8 million in benefits. And then out of those, we've also received 66 funeral grants, which is the claim that you can make after your loved one is deceased, and you can receive a funeral grant to assist with burial expenses. We have received 66 funeral grants, 4 survivors pension claims, and 4 survivors grant. We have paid survivors grants. And so that is the updated numbers. If you're interested to know the ratio of male to female, of those 3,548 claims, 1,482 are for females and 2,066 are for males. So again, even with the claims, the amount of submissions for claims are much higher for males at this time than they are for females. And so those are essentially, I don't know if there are any other numbers you wanted me to update.
I wanted to know the average length of time that these people are out of work.
Okay, no, you see, you asked me the one where I never. I don't have the average the average number of days at this time.
Okay.
But I can safely say that they are in between 14 to 21 days.
Yeah.
But I'll be sure to get those numbers, the average days for you, so that I can update you as well.
Let me ask a question here then. While we often say that the period is between 7 to 14 days and what have you, for some people, the recovery time takes a lot longer than others. So if I contract the virus and I am clear after 14 days, for instance, if Marlene catches it and probably is out of work for the next 2 months or what have you, how does that work in terms of the claim process?
It's all sickness benefit claims are treated the same. We are only highlighting the COVID, simply because of the pandemic, but they are paid. We pay sickness benefit claims up to 287. What that is? 237 days. And so you are covered for COVID under our regular sickness benefit qualifying conditions. So it's no different. If Marlene is out for up to 3-4 months, she's still covered until she is able to go back to work.
Yeah.
But the payment is the same as for any other claim, as for any other diagnosis. But of course, right now, there's a significant increase in sickness benefit for COVID-19 because of the pandemic.
Do you cover both the people pending results as well as those who've tested positive?
It varies because in some cases, persons that are put on quarantine that are unable to work would be certified by the Ministry of Health, and those can be paid as sickness benefit as well. But in a lot of cases, increasingly, persons who are awaiting a test result or who are even in quarantine are able to work. Employers are increasingly making the possibility of working from home a reality. And so, it would vary depending on your situation. If you're somebody that, does manual work and you have to be at work, then most definitely your waiting time can be certified by the ministry, because you won't be at work while you're waiting, because you're being treated as a positive case until your result comes out.
Yeah.
And so you will be at home, and those days can be certified by the ministry as sickness benefit as well.
Okay, so that's good to know for people who are either waiting to be tested or waiting for results. And looking at the numbers, and I did a quick tally, so it's somewhere less than 4,000 in total, people who've accessed benefits, whether it's funeral, pension, and sickness claims.
Mm-hmm.
But there are almost 11,000 people who've tested positive. I know all of them wouldn't be employed, and some may be younger than 18. But what do you think accounts for? It still sounds like there's a gap there. That's my assumption.
Yes, we anticipate that, yes, that there still is a gap, because of that 3,548 sickness benefit claims that I mentioned just now, only 1,581 of those are persons that are positive for COVID-19, because a significant amount, 1,377, are certified sick leave for isolation. So the real number of persons that who have a COVID positive diagnosis on their claim is only around 1,500 to 1,600 persons. And we know that the ministry, when the numbers were much higher, were trying to keep up with the issuing of the medical certificates. And there's also the challenge that a lot of persons who test positive don't necessarily come in contact with a physician unless they become ill, and so they are unable to get a medical certificate until they are out of quarantine, and then can able to access the services of a physician to get the medical certificate. So I think all of that has caused probably a backlog for claims that for persons with COVID-19 that are late. As long as you just give us a reason for lateness, because the law says you need to give a reason, so you can simply say the medical certificate, the doctor took long to fill in the medical certificate or whatever, then the penalties for lateness are waived as long as you have a reasonable excuse. And so we anticipate that we are not yet seeing the full amount of claims that will be submitted for COVID-19 for persons who have already tested positive, as well for the persons who will test positive in the future.
Yeah, that's interesting. So half of it is for people who were in isolation and half for people who actually tested positive.
Yes.
Okay. Now, as we move forward, and I know you have some other things that you wanted to cover, the online services now extend to other things like your pension application and things of that like. Let's move into those categories.
Likewise, we use the same email address, and I've been on the show before talking about the project of our systems integration, which we call Peranza. That is also, we are also working on that simultaneously with this having to make the changes for COVID-19. And so hopefully sooner rather than later in 2021, which is this year, that integration will be completed, and then the services will be available much more seamlessly online, because then you will simply go to the portal and you will be able to access the Social Security. You will access Social Security through a portal, and you will be able to make your claims, you will be able to check your contributions and all of that, which is something that would facilitate then the online processing of these claims without having to, the employer's information will be there, so you won't have to be taking your claim and going to fill in SM2. And so that will come online this year in 2021. And so those are all things that we are working on simultaneously, but then we had to kind of switch quick because to facilitate the circumstances of COVID-19 at this time.
Yeah.
So pensioners can send their life declaration forms the same way. I take a picture or scan it and send it to claims@socialsecurity.org.bz. Likewise, if you fill in you're claiming a retirement pension, you can start the process. There are a few processes that you still need to come into the office for. And one of them is registration, simply because we need to capture your photo. And so that process is available online by appointment. And so you can go online, make the appointment, and so that when you get to the office, you will be one of maybe two persons in the office at that time. And we are able to control the amount of people that, the crowd control that is so important for managing COVID. And so but because you have to take your picture, you need to go to the office. And so we facilitate that online to the extent that you need to go in, capture your photo, the information is verified, and then you leave.
Yeah. Now you've updated the contribution calendar. One of the things I wanted to ask, as you noted earlier, there has been a postponement of the increase in contributions. It started last year. But my question is, when this was first presented as necessary, the then chairperson of the board, was very clear in saying that the fund was drying up and that it was essential, especially people wanted to collect pensions when they retire, that there was an increase in contributions. What happens now?
That's a very good question, Marlene. What has happened, as well, you and the public are well aware, is that the increase was phased in.
Yes.
So there was one in 2019 and one in 2020. Those two alone have helped to bring us back, or bring us closer to where we need to be, where the sustainability of the fund is concerned. And so thankfully, those have been implemented and those will continue. The last one would have been, as you know, in January. My understanding is that it is simply being postponed. I think that the need for it, well, it has been supported. It was supported by the unions and it was supported by the chamber after, detailed consultations. And so they understand the need for the increase. And so my understanding at this point is that it is simply a postponement until we get a better footing economically in the country, because this last one would have been the biggest one where the percentage is concerned. And so employers are already struggling. We didn't want it to concern that it would affect employment. And so I understand that it is simply a postponement until we are in a better, or country is in a better position to increase the payments. But as you rightly said, it's also going to affect the payment, because the increase in the contribution isn't alone. The increase in the payments result in an increase in benefits. And so we are at the point where we are insuring up to $460 now. And so your benefits will be increased up to that point. This last increase should have taken us to $520, but that one was postponed. And then the increase in the rate of contributions is really the one that deals directly with the sustainability of the fund. And that was supposed to go up 1 full percentage point in January, and that has been postponed. So I think probably we could safely say for this year that increase will not take place, and possibly will be implemented a little bit later on.
And just my last question has to do with the employer's contribution, or looking at people who have been furloughed, people who are, waiting for their place of employment to reopen. I know there's a checker online to ensure that your Social Security contributions are being made. What's your advice to people who are kind of in that gray area when it comes to employment?
It can be a precarious situation for the employee, because if you recall, initially we were encouraging employers to pay a minimum benefit for your workers if you can, so that they can remain insurable, you know,
Yes.
because remember, we have qualifying conditions for benefits. And if you don't have 5 out of 13 contributions when you claim sickness benefit, you don't qualify. And so in a time of unemployment, especially if it's as extensive as some persons have been experiencing, when they get sick, they will not qualify for sickness benefit. And so that's why in the beginning, we were encouraging employers to keep the employees current with contributions. However, that was affecting their ability to access some of the
They couldn't apply for
assistance.
unemployment.
Yes, and so because the unemployment assistance, if you are somebody that is employed, or you know, Social Security is being paid on your behalf, you won't qualify. And so a lot of the employees opted out of that idea or that suggestion, so that they can access the unemployment benefit. So I think it really depends on the individual situations. You have a lot of persons now who have moved from being employed to being self-employed. And so, you know, they probably need to start looking at the options of making contributions as a self-employed person as well, because that is also an option with Social Security. Okay. So we are working on, you know, providing more information to our employers as we go along in that regard as well. But as long as you are able to keep current, it's with your Social Security contributions, it's certainly what we would recommend to be able to access the benefits.
Any final advice to our viewers?
First of all, I just wanted to say we're so happy to see Ingrid doing so well.
I know.
And also join in with everyone in expressing condolences to the family and colleagues of Dr. Barbosa. But where Social Security is concerned, I just want to remind persons that we also have the pension calendars available, because the pensioners are very, very, they wait for their pension calendars every year. Unfortunately, this year we won't be distributing them because of the pandemic, but they are available online, and you can download it or ask, one of your more tech-savvy relatives to download it for you, or to save it for you, put it on your phone. It's now available on our website. And of course, again, to go back to the first point, to please, as much as possible, when you're making your claims online, ensure that they are complete. If your claim is complete, your payment is secured, and you will receive it in the normal 5 working days, 3 working days. In fact, you can even receive it faster if your claim is complete. But we have so many claims that are being submitted incomplete, and that is causing a little bit of a delay to be able to pay some of the claims. So we're just urging, if you have any questions about the completeness of your claim, you can chat with us on our messenger app that's very busy now. And so if you're not sure about something before you submit the claim, check with us. We will help you to make sure that you have everything together, so that when you submit the claim, you can be paid as quickly as possible.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the update. We do appreciate it, and getting a clearer picture as to how many people have accessed benefits in the pandemic due to COVID-19, and more importantly, also knowing the way to be able to follow through on those claims. Thank you very much, Chandra, and stay safe.
Thank you for having us, guys. Have a nice day.
All right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, it'll be for the first live interview with the new Miss Universe Belize, Iris Salguero. Stay tuned.
Es un hecho que puedes obtener servicios ilimitados con Smart. ¿Cansado de que se corte la línea cuando más necesitas estar conectado? Es un hecho que cuando te suscribes al plan de Smart Plus, obtienes llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Y también es un hecho que te puedes suscribir con un grupo de 5 miembros al plan Smart Share y hasta 40 miembros al plan Smart Enterprise para llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Smart tiene los verdaderos planes ilimitados. Es un hecho. Sé Smart y vive de forma Smart.
Todos estamos en riesgo de contraer la COVID-19, por lo que es importante reconocer rápidamente los signos y síntomas de la infección. Los síntomas más comunes son fiebre, tos seca y cansancio o fatiga. Algunas personas también pueden tener dolor de garganta, dolores y molestias, congestión nasal o diarrea. Pero algunas personas también han reportado conjuntivitis, dolor de cabeza, pérdida de sabor u olor, sarpullido en la piel o un cambio en el color de los dedos de las manos o los pies. Los signos de alarma de emergencia que requieren atención médica inmediata son dificultad extrema para respirar, dolor constante y severo o presión en el pecho, confusión, dificultad para hablar o moverse, labios, rostro, dedos de las manos o de los pies azulados. Para mayor información, llame al 0800-664-2273. Protejamos nuestra salud.
Why, Tony?
Why, kid, what you going on, man?
But actually come see you because I need to buy a stack of them plastic plates and cups for my grocery shop because I run low.
Boy, I stopped importing that thing since April 15th, you know. And I just ran out to the last batch, must have been like 3 weeks back, you know.
Man, do I usually have anything? What is going on?
Check this, right? Under the new law, we ban all single-use plastics, so that cups, plates, forks, spoons, and knives, all of that. Since April 15th, can't import none of them. Starting January 15, 2021, you can't manufacture them. April 15, 2021, you can't sell them. And after July 14, 2021, if you get catch with any other thing, you will get fined.
Me never know this. I guess I have to make some changes then. I have to make the customers know that anything not available. Anyways, bro. Thanks, man.
No problem, man. Take care.
I stand before you today, humbled and honored at the opportunity to showcase our beautiful jewel to the universe on that international stage. An opportunity and responsibility that must be carried out with the utmost respect, dignity, love, and commitment to my country in achieving something bigger than myself with this platform. As a woman who comes from humble beginnings and who has had many life lessons, I want to be an image of inspiration, hope, and empowerment, especially to the youth of our nation, to encourage our young women to take up space in male-dominated industries and influence our young men to treat our young ladies with equality and respect. With this platform, I want to raise my voice in spreading awareness on issues relevant in our country, such as the protection and conservation of our environment and natural resources, the increasing crime and murder rate that affects our youth, and domestic violence against women, which I too was once a victim of. I want to showcase the beauty and richness of our jewel and the warmth and resilience of its people, to make our country's name heard and our presence felt. In advance, I want to ask all my Belizeans for their love and support, because it makes a difference, and I know I can rely on you to remind me of home and help me carry it with me wherever I go. Starting today, I am no longer just Iris Salguero, and this is not just my journey. I am your Miss Universe Belize 2020-2021, and this is our story. Thank you.
And joining us live, we have Iris Salguero, the new Miss Universe Belize 2020-2021. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We're great. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me as well.
Now, this was top secret information that was finally revealed come Saturday. Tell me, since you have been able to let everyone know, all your friends, all your loved ones, what's the feeling like today?
It feels like a weight lifted off my shoulder to start off with, because it's been a month in the process of hiding this secret, not only from Belize, but from my close family. Like my parents, nobody had a clue. My friends didn't have a clue. And so I had to come up with a lot of little white lies to kind of get them off my shoulders. And what are you doing? What are you involved in? The day of the pageant, I told my mom, so I'm going to be doing a fashion show. You should, go on the news channel 5 or on Facebook and see it. And when everything happened, afterwards, I was trying to get a hold of her, and I just couldn't, because her phone was ringing from all my relatives calling her, like, how could you not tell us? Why didn't anybody tell us anything? So I think it was a nice surprise for them.
I mean, it can't be more top secret than your mother not knowing. Wow.
I know, that was the most difficult part. I had one of the committee members from the organization telling me, if I was your mom, I would be so proud and so upset at the same time.
Let's backtrack though, Iris, and let's talk about your decision to put yourself in the pageant this year.
Yeah, so the reason why I wanted to do Miss Universe, it's been my ultimate goal since I involved myself in pageantry. 5 years ago, almost 6 this year, I won Miss San Pedro 2015. And 2015 was also a year of a lot of growth, a lot of wins and a lot of losses for me. And once I got on that stage, once I put myself out there, I realized that I was very comfortable on stage. It's something that I love to do. And once involving myself in the process of pageantry as well, you learn that it's not just about the glitz and glamour, it's about the platform. And I fell in love with that. I fell in love with working with my community, helping people. It really brings a lot of joy to me. And so I continued doing different pageants, knowing that this would be my ultimate one. And now I'm just happy to start on this journey and start putting in the work with my community.
Yeah. Of course, it was done under completely different circumstances.
Yes.
Yeah.
The process was completely different. The organization wanted to take in consideration the rules and regulations that have been given by the Ministry of Health, to prevent the spread of COVID. So for the safety of all the girls that were competing, we never got to interact with each other. Everything was done through Zoom calls and a series of interviews, a series of videos that were sent in, and emails, of course.
Yeah. And you had different panels interview, including an international panel of judges.
Yes, the first step, it was to send in the application along with an email speaking about ourselves. And then we had our first interview with a local panel of judges, which had members of the Miss U organization in it as well. And oddly enough, I felt that was the more difficult interview, because after that we moved to the international panel of judges, and I just felt so much more comfortable and relaxed and calm. And after that interview, I was just so pleased with my performance.
Well, it's interesting because when we think of the selection of a Miss Universe, we think of the pageant itself being judged on the walk, the dress, the presentation, the confidence, the poise. But you had to go the opposite route and really sell yourself to these interview panels.
Yes.
How did you prepare for that? And you know, how do you know that, why do you think that you stood out?
Excuse me, could you repeat that last part again?
Why do you think that you stood out as the ultimate candidate?
Doing everything virtually, as you said, definitely has its challenges because I didn't get to gradually present myself to the public and to the judges where they could view me in a public setting, in a private setting, how I carry myself, poise, grace, how I deal with people. So I literally had 15 to 20 minutes to let the essence of Iris shine through in an interview where I couldn't speak too much about myself because I was also answering questions on global topics or local topics. I think that it was definitely my positivity because I did try to include a little bit of my mentality into my questions, a little bit of my background and what I stand for in my interviews. And you'll see wherever I go, I'm going to carry my little flower with me, my little flower that I always have here. And it's a big representation of my Isla Bonita, where I come from, the way I grew up, my background with my family, and just my entire story. And so my trainer as well, before the pageant, always told me, whatever the question may be, whether it be something that you may not find interesting or whether it be a very bland question, always start with something positive and always bring it back around to something about you.
Yeah. So you did prepare for interviews?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Well, at least the second one. The first one, because it was local, I wanted to just be myself. I wanted to test myself as well and see, because it has been 2 years since I've done a pageant, I wanted to see what I was capable of without training and just let my natural personality come through. For the second one, I did train a little bit, just informing myself on global topics because I knew that that was something that they were going to ask me. It was all like Miss You questions, and I'm expecting the same amount of pressure in my interviews as well when I go to the US.
What would you say would have been perhaps one learning lesson between the last pageant you participated in 2 years ago versus this one?
The biggest lesson, I would say, would have been just a lot of self-love, a lot of self-forgiveness and determination, realizing that the universe and God are not going to grant you anything that you do not prepare yourself for. Life comes with its ups and downs, its negatives and positives, and you have to learn to love the entire experience.
Yeah. And now I want to ask, you know, looking at the crowning itself, is it bittersweet? You know, you had this as your ultimate goal, which means you did one day wanted to go on that stage and compete for the crown publicly. Now that you're crowned, is it a bittersweet moment?
It is a bittersweet moment because I think that now that I'm at my ultimate goal, this is probably going to be my last pageant. This is my dream, but it's sweet to me as well because this is what I wanted, and I know that I'm going to give the best of myself and leave my heart out on that stage. As I said, our country's name will be heard, our presence will be felt. We are here to stay.
So let's talk about the platform. You have an interesting story. First of all, you come from a very big family. So I can only, you have a ton of support system, a very large support system with your siblings and whatnot. Tell us a bit about you. What do you want Belize to know about you?
What I would want Belize to know about me is that even though you see me here, crown and sash all dolled up, I'm just a human being. And so I just want love and support and positivity. We need to realize that as the community, the support that we show our young queens really makes a difference. We can't expect her to go and perform well if her heart is back home and everyone back home isn't fully supporting her. What I want people to know is that I'm human, I make mistakes, but I want to give the best of myself and hold this title with a lot of love, respect, commitment, dignity. And, you know, as you said, I come from a large family. And my siblings, it's 12 of us, of which I'm the 11th and the youngest girl. And I'm grateful for that because there's always someone to run to for advice. Everybody has experience on anything that I'm going through. And yeah, we're just so close. I've learned to always be a team player and step up to challenges. And they've always been there to back me up regardless of whatever the outcome may be of my decisions.
Yeah. And we were told as well that even when you went through high school, you found a way to finance your own education?
Yes, I helped my mother out for the first couple of years, and then in the last 2 years as well. You know, from coming from a big family, my parents gave us everything that we could possibly want, but I wanted to lift a little bit of that weight off of their shoulders. So I did everything from waitressing, working at stores, tour operator, because I just wanted to pitch in. And it also learned me to be a bit more grateful for the opportunities that I have and put a lot more effort into my studies. I have always been good in school. I was always, especially in high school, an honor roll. And I actually graduated salutatorian from high school. And that was one of my proudest moments, because I know that I accomplished it thanks to the effort and hard work that my parents have put in, that my mother has put in, that I have put in. And it was one of the best moments.
So that, I mean, that shows a great level of discipline, even from a very young age. How do you take that discipline and put it into pageantry?
Well, like you said, it's something that comes from a very young age. With a family so big, you learn to pull your own weight and be responsible, and learn to not have to depend on people to remind you to do things. And when you learn from such a young age, it's a habit that you just keep building and building up. Yes, life will throw its curveballs at you, but you stay focused. And my biggest strength, where it comes from as well, is from my faith in God. I believe that if I was put on this path, if I was granted this opportunity, it's because there's a higher purpose behind it. And I'm just listening to the guidance from the people that are around me that I love so much and that I know want the best for me.
Mm-hmm. And now, as you begin your journey, what happens now?
Right now, we're in the process of just doing a lot of interviews with the media, training. My training has started from about a month ago with my catwalk, with my speech, with answering questions. And so mostly training. But from here, we also start working with community work. We start doing charity events, of course, by being safe and, again, following all the rules and regulations that have been given to us so we can stay safe and lessen the spread of COVID. But right now, also, it's about building my social media presence. I think that's a really important thing. It was a question that I was asked as well in the coronation, how my numbers don't match other countries like Philippines and Thailand, you know. But as I said before, it's about the message that I have to deliver. I think that, you know, Instagram followers isn't that important. It's about what you have to represent.
So we got to get everybody to follow you online today. That's
Yes,
one thing we can do.
Yes, as I said before, the community doesn't understand how important their support is to not just beauty queens, anybody that is representing us internationally. Our heart has to be at peace knowing that our entire country is backing us up and is sending us love and is wanting the best for us and wanting to see us succeed.
Yeah. And what about people on the island? You're from San Pedro. And what's been there? And I know San Pedranos love their pageants too, so.
Yes, well, you know, because of COVID, when I arrived, there couldn't really be much persons there. We didn't really want to, you know, be irresponsible with that. So I kind of just had my boyfriend and my mother pick me up and we went home. We had a little lunch and then I just called it an afternoon, had a little nap because I was so exhausted. And then later on, we celebrated for a bit longer. But the amount of support that I've received from not only my San Pedranos, but the entirety of Belize, it's humbling. It's really humbling. I haven't, at least on my end, I haven't seen any negativity. And that speaks volumes of how we're growing and learning to support people. Yeah. And, you know, it was nice going back home too, because I knew that even though they couldn't be there present to congratulate me, to take photos, to just be there for me, they were in my Messenger, they were in my Facebook, they were in my Instagram. Those messages would not stop pouring in. I've had so many of my San Pedranos reach out and show me that love and tell me how proud they are that I'm the first San Pedrana to win Miss Universe Belize. And honestly, it's really sweet. It's heartwarming.
Yeah. So when is the international pageant? Do we know yet?
No, we don't know yet. That date is still pending. They are aiming for sometime in April, maybe the beginning, maybe the end. So we're still working on that. And of course, we are trying to make our schedule play out because we have to be consistent with our training and just make sure that we have everything set in case the date gets pushed back further or closer.
Okay. All right. And what would you like to say to Belize? This is your first live appearance, of course, in talking to the people of the nation. You are our new Miss Universe Belize. You're going to represent us internationally. And can I just say, you know, it's part of the lighter side and positive news that gives us a break from the reality of what's happening. So what do you want to say to Belizeans during this time?
Well, as I said in my speech, I just want to ask you for your love and support because it does make a difference. I know that I can rely on you guys to help me carry Belize wherever I go, because when I stand on that stage, I'm not Iris Salguero. I am Miss Universe Belize, and I want to give the best of myself, have my mind and my heart clear and full of love and positivity to make sure that my performance is excellent. I want to know that I have my country backing me up and fill them with happiness as well, because this is a big deal for us. This is a lot of exposure. This is not only for Belize, but for myself and for the culture, the tradition, everything that we have to offer. And so I just hope that I make you guys proud. Keep me in your prayers. Send me messages of positivity and encouragement. And you know that I will leave my heart on that stage. I hope I make every single one of you proud.
All right. Well, Iris, this is, of course, only the first time we're going to be talking to you. We expect to catch up as you move along this journey. But thank you for joining us and telling us about what got you this far and how you're feeling as the newly crowned Miss Universe Belize. Best of luck and stay safe.
Thank you so much. Once again, thank you for having me. Have a good day.
All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and take our final break. And when we come back, we'll have our wrap up. So stay tuned.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when you sign up for Smart's Plus plan, you get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data. And it's a fact that you can sign up with your group of up to 5 members for Smart's Share plans and up to 40 members for Smart's Enterprise plans for unlimited talk, text, and data. Smart has the true unlimited plans. That's a fact. Be smart and live smart.
And we're back.
Man, this has been a rather interesting show. I think I'm still kind of taking in that conversation with Ingrid Vega and her life-changing experience having dealt with a bout of COVID-19. And to see the outpouring of support that she has gotten, notwithstanding the fact that she has lost her husband as a result of his fight with COVID as well, to see the support from the medical community for her, to see the support from her friends and family. It is interesting because these are the kinds of stories and these are the kinds of experiences that resonate with people, so that when you believe that you are alone in this, if you're someone who's battling COVID-19, you do have other people who have been either in similar situations or have been in a situation perhaps that's unique to them, but they can share certain experiences and knowledge with you. And I think that's, if we were discussing an eye-opener this morning, to me, that conversation for me was the ultimate eye opener today.
I think for all of us, I mean, it's amazing to see how positive she is and how much she has relied on her faith, and it has come through for her in being able to survive a severe form of COVID, go on a ventilator, come off a ventilator, and go home to her girls. And she's still in recovery. I think it's also sobering as well. Because when she speaks of how rapidly it went from just feeling okay to being in the hospital to being on a ventilator, it really leads me to believe that we have to be absolutely vigilant when you are diagnosed with COVID-19, or even if you haven't been diagnosed, if you start feeling unwell, because it seems that it can deteriorate so quickly. And the strength that it takes, when she said, I held my husband and I told him, I'm sorry, I can't grieve, you know. Oh, it brings a lump to my throat immediately. But it is a strength that was necessary because she knew she had to get back to her daughter. So, you know, just such a compelling story, and we're grateful that Ingrid decided to share it with us. And we do wish her the best for her recovery. I think when I hear the dedication of doctors like Dr. Pot Marahon, it just reminds me of so many frontliners out there who are risking their own safety to ensure that we can get through this pandemic and that people can be able to get the diagnosis and treatment to help them with their own recovery.
Yeah. And speaking of COVID-19, to hear from the SSB, the process that one needs to go through once they are affected with COVID-19 in terms of the benefits and the claims and that sort of stuff. I think that too helps to shed light on how to go about getting the necessary assistance that you would need when you come down with the illness and you're away from work for an extended period of time.
Yeah. So make sure you have all the information. Make sure your doctor sends in their information, and make sure your employer sends your salary information. These are 3 elements that are necessary. And your banking information is critical. If you don't get all the information in, it delays the process. So that was the key takeaway, of course, this morning from SSB. But I gotta say, though, those numbers are interesting. Of the 11,000 positive cases we've had, it was only about 1,600 people that have actually received sickness benefits. There's a discrepancy somewhere. And so they think it's probably a backlog, but I do appreciate getting that into perspective as well. Yeah.
And of course, well, congratulations once again to Iris Salguero as the Miss Belize Universe.
Yeah.
Job well done, and we look forward to representation from you in the year ahead. You know, they say beauty queens have the weight of the world on their shoulder when it comes to representing their country, right? So in this case, we know that she's up to the task, and this is the fulfillment of her life journey in pageantry, and we're on board.
Well, we know Belizeans love a good pageant, and so she's asking for the Belizean public to support her as well. A big part of the pageant is, of course, her online presence. So do your part. Find her online, find her on Facebook, find her on Instagram, follow, and be sure to keep pushing our new Miss Universe Belize so that the world can pay attention. But that's all the time we have for today. Remember, if you want to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also drop me a line at marlene_oye@channel5belize.com. Find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYEBelize. And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
To start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.